I am absolutely gobsmacked. Absolutely gobsmacked. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Ya Rafidi. You are absolutely bad.
That the Atharis, whose leader is Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Hanbal.
إن النواصب شر من وطأ الحصى من كل إنس ناطق أو جاني بغض الوهابي واليهود عبادة أكرم بها في كفة الميزان.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Today we're going to be refuting the dwarf, the Hashawi, Bro Hajji. Let's see what he claims.
So it mentions here, chapter mentioning the reasons, okay, for the Sahib al-Amr, for his appearance. And what did he say? There's no reason, okay, for him to emerge, okay, that prevents him to emerge, sorry, except that he fears for himself to be killed. That's the reason why, right? So the coward ran away when he was 5 years old because he feared the Abbasids. The Abbasids are no longer here. And even At-Tusi is saying the reason he don't want to come back, and the main reason that prevents him is because he fears.
Yes, خاف على نفسه من القتل here means that he feared for their religion, because if he were to be killed, then the earth would be destroyed, because the earth of Allah is never absent of a hujjah. And this is found even in your authentic sources. We read in Majmu'at al-Fatawa li-Ibn Taymiyyah on page 75. He says, the earth will never be void of a proof of Allah upon it. And this is aided by the Quran in قوله تعالى إني جاعل في الأرض خليفة, meaning that Allah is placing a Khalifa upon the earth. And the word Ja'il in the Arabic language is ismun fa'ilun dalun ala al-istimrar, meaning that Allah is constantly and always at all times is placing a caliph of His upon the earth and a proof of His upon the earth over His creation. And Imam al-Mahdi going into occultation was a command of Allah Jalla Jalaluhu, as we read in كمال الدين وتمام النعمة للشيخ الصدوق رحمه الله on page 103. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم والذي بعثني بالحق بشيرا ليغيبن القائم من ولدي بعهد معهود إليه مني. So the Imam alayhi salam, fearing for himself and fearing for the religion, is a sunnah of Nabiullah Musa alayhi salam, as found in the Quran. We read, so he went forth therefrom, fearing, watchful. He said, my Lord, deliver me from the unjust people. And another verse Allah says on the tongue of Moses, so I fled from you. When I feared you, then my Lord granted me right judgments and made me one of His messengers. So will Bro Hajji call the Prophet of Allah, Musa, a coward? Will he mock Musa alayhi salam and call him a coward for fleeing and fearing from his nation? Or will he say that the Mahdi followed the sunnah of Musa alayhi salam and feared for himself and feared for the religion and not for worldly desires, as Bro Hajji is trying to make it allude to the audience? So bravery and cowardice doesn't apply here. If you want to talk about cowardice, then let's discuss Umar ibn al-Khattab. We read in al-Mustadrak ala al-Sahihain, in volume 3, page 40. The Prophet Muhammad sends Umar ibn al-Khattab to open up Khaybar. And Umar ibn al-Khattab comes back fleeing with his companions. And he started calling them cowards, and they were calling him cowards back. Al-Dhahabi and Al-Hakim authenticate this hadith. So Bro Hajji, are you gonna call the companions liars? Or is Umar truthful? If Umar is truthful, then the companions of your beloved prophets are cowards. And if the companions are also truthful, then Umar ibn Khattab is a coward. Unless you want to call the companions liars, then you would have destroyed your entire faith, because your entire religion relies upon the companions being truthful and just. And is Hajji also gonna call Prophet Abraham a coward? In Bukhari 6950, Abraham lies to the tyrant king and tells him that his wife Sarah is actually his sister. And then he ends up sending his wife Sarah to this tyrant king who wants to fornicate with her because he feared from the ruler and he wanted to save his wife. Even better, Is Hajj gonna also call his own God a coward? His God sent messengers and prophets and proofs, knowing that they will be oppressed. And there will be tyrants, rulers ruling over them, oppressing them and attempting to kill them. And so they fled and they ran and they were fearful, like Prophet Musa alayhi salam in the Quran and Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam and many others. And not to mention that within your own books, the Salaf mentioned that Banu Israel used to kill 70 prophets in one day. So where was your God, O Hajji? Why didn't your God defend these 70 prophets who were being massacred every single day? Isn't your God all powerful? Is your God a coward? Are your prophets cowards for fleeing and running and being scared? قطعا لا. Of course not. Because this is all a test from Allah Jalla Jalaluhu. And we read in the Quran, Allah says, do men think that they will be left alone because they say we believe and they will not be tested? And Allah also says, who has created death and life that he might try you, which of you is best in deeds, and he is mighty, the most forgiving. So Allah Jalla Jalaluhu created life and death to test us, and he created tests to see whether we believe in him and remain patient or not. And that was the case with Imam al-Hujjah, who followed the sunnah of the prophets before him, such as Nabiullah Isa alayhi salam, Ibrahim and Musa, when they all feared the oppression by the tyrants who lived during their time. Now he wants to call the Mahdi the Shia a coward. Let's take a look at the Sunni Mahdi. I assume he's gonna be this brave man filled with courage. Let's see what Al-Safarin al-Hanbali says in Kitab Nawami' al-Anwar. In volume 2 on page 82 he says, وقد تكاثرت الروايات والآثار بأمر المهدي وقد ذكر العلماء أن أول ظهوره يكون شابا ثم يخاف على نفسه من القتل. Hajji believes in a Mahdi that when he appears he will be fearful of being killed. فيفر إلى مكة مختفيا, and he is also a farrar, he'll flee to Mecca hiding, and then they will force him into bay'ah. Then he will go towards Mecca, and then the believers will join him. Then he'll start heading towards to Medina to fight al-Sufyani. Then he will be defeated by the army of Sufyani. Allahu Akbar. So Hajji believes in a Mahdi who is scared of being killed, who hides, who flees, and will be defeated. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. I'm truly disappointed, Hajji. I thought the Sunnis believed the Mahdi is brave. He's not a coward. But it turns out the Sunni Mahdi, when he appears, he'll be scared of being killed. He's gonna hide, he's gonna flee, and he gets defeated. Allahu Akbar. We also read in Ahkam al-Quran لibn al-Arabi in al-Qism al-Thani on page 514. He mentions a verse from the Quran and says, this is evidence that you are allowed to flee when you are in fear from the enemy, and abandoning patience, because Allah Jalla Jalaluhu sends this down as a test. And then he goes on to say, وَلَكِنَّهَا سُنَّةُ الْأَنْبِيَاءِ وَسِيرَةُ الْأُمَمِ. He says this is the seerah of the prophets and the nations of Islam and the nations that preceded, that they fled, that they were fearful, and so on. So Hajji, here is your scholars saying that it's a sunnah and it's the seerah of the prophets and the nations before to flee and to be fearful from the enemy. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. We also read in al-Jami'u li-Ahkam al-Quran by al-Qurtubi on volume 11, page 203. He says, وَهَذِهِ الْآيَةُ تُرُدُّ عَلَى مَنْ قَالَ. And this verse rebukes the one who says, إِنَّهُ لَا يَخَافُ, that he is not scared. وَالْخَوْفُ مِنَ الْأَعْدَاءِ سُنَّةُ اللَّهِ فِي أَنْبِيَائِهِ وَأَوْلِيَائِهِ. And being scared from the enemies of Allah is a sunnah of Allah to His prophets and His awliya. So I truly thank this Hashawi, Hajji, for proving that our Imam, walillahi alhamd, follows the sunnah of the prophets and the messengers that preceded him. وَلِلَّهِ الْحَمْدِ, he attempted attacking the Imam, rather showed a merit of his, that he is the follower of the Sunnah of the Anbiya that preceded him. And I say this, and I ask Allah to forgive me and to forgive you, and may Allah Jalla Jalaluhu keep us a sword upon the necks of the kuffar, like Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam was a sword upon the necks of the mushrikeen. Wassalamu alaykum.
إن النواصب شر من وطأ الحصى من كل إنس ناطق أو جاني بغض الوهابي واليهود عبادة أكر بها في كفة الميزان.